Welcome to a Transmissions Podcast special event. I'm your host, Charles, aka Big C. I'm joined by Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how's it going?
And we have some special guests. You might recognize them. Awesome artists and writers. We have Andrew Griffith and John Barber, the artist and writer team from Transformers Robots in Disguise from IDW a few years ago. If you might remember those comics, those were awesome comics. We really enjoyed that era of IDW Transformers comics, and we've had them on the show lots of times to talk Transformers. But now we're talking about something new, something different, something independent. So Andrew Griffith and John Barber are teaming up again to create a new comic series, and it's completely creator owned and independent, and it's called Signa. It's a science fiction epic that I don't know anything else about it. So we've got them here to tell us what's going on with this. So can you give us the elevator pitch for Signa?
100 years after a war devastated the planet, a young woman named Ketnavora thinks she might have a key to saving what's left of humanity. It involves it's Andrew and I, so it involves giant robots. Ever since she was a kid, she's had this necklace, and it was just a necklace she had. But it turns out it is actually a machine intelligence from that war 100 years ago, and it finds its way into another ancient kind of battle device, a mecha suit, or just a mech, I guess. And the two of them kind of team up with some scavengers that she's been working with, and they are trying to make their way in the world, in the solar system, and they think they might have a way to save the solar system from this impending doom, because the sun has turned into a red giant somewhat inexplicably, and everybody kind of believes they're in sort of the last generation, or the last time that there will be human life.
Yeah, one of the things about our book and the universe we've created here is like the solar system is dying, like you said. The sun's expanding; it's going to consume all the planets in short order. But even though this is in the future, there's no interstellar travel. No one's come up with any way of like getting out of the solar system, so it's kind of like hopeless. Like there's no escape from this. But of course, there wouldn't be much story if there wasn't some sort of hope. So like our book, there's going to be maybe a way that maybe something can be done about it. And, it's good. Don't know how much to give away, but there's more stuff going on than just that. But that's kind of the crux of it.
Okay. So how did this idea come about? What was the origin for creating this story?
Super smooth and really short gestation period, right, Andrew?
Yeah, we were just talking a couple of months ago. No, not at all. It's something we've been talking about for years. In fact, we had put a pitch together 5 years ago, like a 5-page pitch drawn and everything. And I think we pitched it to IDW, and then they had some notes, and then life happened, this happened, that happened. I worked on some things, John worked on some things, and we eventually came back to it and completely reworked it. And over time, I think we've got it at a pretty good place.
Yeah, it's very different than what we started with, too. I mean, the world's changed, obviously, and so did the story we were telling, a whole lot. I mean, really, I think that story that we were kind of doing initially was like remarkably similar to what wound up being the premise of The Mandalorian, like just kind of coincident. I mean, we didn't have a Baby Yoda, but
it was a giant robot instead of the Baby Yoda. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, with a robot
setting and.
But like a lot of our inspirations, I think, wound up kind of being sort of similar to that, and it's very different from that now. Like we're way far away from any of the pieces that I think would tie in with that. Although, I mean, I think you can kind of tell some of our inspirations in there are Star Wars, Transformers, and a lot of other stuff. Though the Expanse, Gundam. I mean, a lot of the usual suspects, and hopefully some other ones that people aren't that people aren't as used to.
So what?
Like one thing I tend to bring up too is like, as my memory of how this all kind of started was when John was still editor at IDW. I pitched a story about DEF CON and Six Shot kind of having a road trip adventure together, like a bounty hunter and a big powerful robot. And he liked the feeling of it and stuff, but he knew it wasn't going to fit into because he was working behind the scenes. He knew what the Transformers plans were. But then he's like, hey, I kind of like that. Maybe you and I can create our own thing, kind of that kind of vibe. And that's kind of how I remember it starting, us working together on something original like this. And it kind of keeps some of the same kind of vibes and stuff, but completely reworked it. And John did his long backstory, imagination magic, when John's really good at diving into that stuff. So,
well, it was actually, that was actually kind of different for this because we, on everything else we'd worked on, there was a big backstory, there was all this stuff that we could kind of go back and I liked picking and choosing from all the pieces that we had in Transformers, history and stuff. And this one is really, if we want this environment, this world to seem real, we're going to have to kind of invent all this stuff ourselves. So we've got, hopefully not a preposterous amount of world building, but there's enough stuff that we know how things got to where they are, even though probably some of it's never going to come up for the readers. There's this stuff that's not super important to the plot, but that at some level we need to know how it worked. But that was pretty fun to do that. I think the other big piece is that we used to talk about the stories we were doing and everything, but this is one where it's like, you're co-writing this. This is like this is we're working real close together on the story, and I deserve most of the credit for the art.
I'm doing finishes. Yeah, so we've really done a lot of Zoom calls and phone calls and messages back and forth with story ideas and stuff. And then John's doing most of the actual writing, but as far as the overall broad strokes and the ideas, and I'll pitch ideas to him and stuff, and he'll fit it in or won't, or we'll go back and forth. But the scripting's him, the art's me. So like he was saying with the story too, the art, this is one of those books where almost everything has to be designed, It's far enough in the future that almost everything I'm going to draw, I've got to come up with what it's going to look like. So, yeah.
And I'll get Andrew's, another big role, you're selling yourself short because I'll be sitting there on my couch falling asleep at about 11 at night, and then I'll get a text from you. And that means it's 2 a.m. your time, but I'm still getting a text from you. And you'll have hey, what about this? And I'll be furious with you that why would you say that? Why would you say this thing about the plot? And I'll kind of drift off a little bit, and I'll be like, oh no, that's actually a good point. That's actually a good point. We have to tear up some tracks and do that. But it's I think it's really
well, that's one of the R's of writing, isn't it? Rewriting.
Yeah.
So he's John Barbering your backstory, like what you did with Transformers.
Is that what it feels like?
Well, there's a whole sequence in the first issue where last year I was sitting at Tokyo Comic Con working on commissions, but what I was really thinking about was this book, and I just had this whole action sequence kind of come into my head, and I was like, oh, we could do it like that, and then I kind of storyboarded it out and everything and sent it to him. He's like, all right, fine, I'll rewrite it.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, Andrew, you were doing the lion's share of the work for that, at least for that scene, right?
Well, yeah, but then John has to put words over it.
Isn't that partially the Marvel method of comics?
The what?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of the Marvel method of comics?
Well, that's kind of how he always worked. Actually, was the Marvel method, but we're kind of co-plotting, I guess. More like a.
Well, we've been working together. I don't even want to think about how long it's been now, but we've been working together for almost as long as either of us have been in comics. So
since before you had kids.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yep. Yeah. No. Yeah. They announced us doing RID the day Ava was born.
We were actually texting about that, and he's like, "I got to go. My girl's just been born." So.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is completely creator owned, right? So you guys are you guys forming a new imprint, or is this is someone else publishing this?
Yeah, we're being published by a new company that I'm working for now called PUGW. It stands for Pan Universal Galactic Worldwide. It's John Nee, who used to be the publisher at Marvel and was a I think publisher at Wildstorm, and then he was at DC. He was one of the founders of the games company Cryptozoic. And then Lorelei Bungus, who used to be at IDW and is currently a VP at Image, and a few other. It's actually some of the people we knew from IDW that are in there. Zane Dilly as well, kind of oddly, Flint Dilly's son.
Okay.
for all you Transformers fans.
Nate Murray's involved too, who some Transformers fans might know from IDW Limited.
Of course, I forgot. Yeah. Nate Murray. Yeah, he's our publisher. Mm-hmm. And this will be our first original comic. We've been kind of doing some stuff behind the scenes for the last. I've been there a little bit more than a year. The company's a little older than that, and then we'll be coming out with some licenses and some announcements and stuff. Not necessarily with comic book stuff, but with related kind of books, art books, games, those kind of things. But Signa is going to be our first original comic, which we're all very excited about.
And how do you envision this unfolding? Is it going to be like several volumes of graphic novels, or do you envision like a monthly book, or how are you planning to put this out?
The first story is going to be 6 issues. We're going to issue 1. We're going to crowdfund. We're going to debut on Kickstarter, but all of that issue and all the subsequent issues will come through. I don't know if my kids just came through. Speaking of that, speaking of them, all the issues will come out in comic book stores as regular. We'll do a collection. But we definitely want to do more. At least that's where we stand right now. Maybe we won't be able to. We'll be strangling ourselves by the time we get to issue 6. But so far, so good. But yeah, we definitely have more story to tell, but I think this first one's going to be we're putting everything into trying to make this first one a really good book, and try to have some unique thoughts on things. And Andrew's art is I could say he's finished the first extra length issue, and it is like not even close to the best work he's ever done. And
thanks,
I've gotten to be there for quite a bit of it. And
thanks.
No, it's super
awesome.
good. All that design work really pays off. And I think we'll see some stuff we haven't seen before, hopefully from both of us.
I think overall, it's the best thing we've done together.
Yeah.
And something I think is relevant for the audience of this is, if people liked what we did on Robots in Disguise, I think they'll really like this. It's got a lot of similar, I don't know about thematically, art-wise, similar kind of feeling and vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you say, John?
Yeah. I think it's that. Hopefully, we're a little older and wiser and better at what we're doing. But I think we still have that sort of desire to kind of prove something that we had a million years ago. When we started out. So, I mean, I really, for me, I got into comics to tell my own stories, create our own comics, do indie stuff. That's the stuff that really inspired me when I was young. And I mean, I did a little bit of that when I started out, but I've been doing so much other stuff since then. And it's nice to finally get over to be able to do that. I think Andrew and I have probably been talking about it on some level since we started. I mean, since we were hanging out at the balcony in Comic-Con talking about what year 2 of our idea was going to be.
Very cool. Long. So now you mentioned the Kickstarter. So when is that starting off?
January. I think we'll be able to lock in on the date a little as we get a little closer to it, but we're looking to start it off right at the beginning of next year.
Okay. And people can.
Oh, go ahead.
And people can sign up for a mailing list now to get updates. So when that Kickstarter goes live, they can get an email and let them know when it's available and everything. So we'll have a link in this video to join the mailing list, so you can do that. I've already signed up, so I'm ready to hear about this.
Yeah, we've got plenty more to announce in terms of like colorist, and got some cool covers done already that we're going to want to share and stuff. And we've got a lot ready to share. Just
very cool.
We'll start doing that soon, I hope.
Yeah.
And we will have you back on Transmissions in January when that Kickstarter goes live, and we'll hopefully you'll be able to share a little bit more about Signa, and we can talk a little bit more, and also go back and delve into your history back in the IDW days as well.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, you get us drunk and we'll tell you what we really think of the Skybound stuff.
Well, hey, you opened the door. So have you picked up issue 1?
Of course.
Any thoughts? Yeah. Let's. What are your thoughts on? By the way, the Transmissions variant of issue 1 is available at transmissionspodcast.com/comic. So we reviewed it already and really enjoyed it. But what from a professional standpoint, what did you guys think of this of the first issue?
I mean, I really enjoyed it. I love love the art. I mean, Kirkman and I used to exchange texts and emails every once in a while. So I know I've known he's been a huge Transformers fan forever. I mean, that's a real thing. So I know it's a labor of love for everybody there. You can tell there's a lot of excitement on it, and just the kinetic quality of the art. So I thought it was really terrific. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Awesome.
I actually just read it the other day finally, and I was a little surprised by how much it went back to like the original source. Like I was really curious to see which way they go, considering the modern fandom after More Than Meets the Eye and everything. And like, I was really curious to see there's so many different ways they could approach it. So I was kind of surprised they went that far back to like the original G1 content and just kind of gave it a bit more of like an adrenaline rush and like a modern sensibility movie, kind of action movie sort of a thing. So yeah, it's like, also I'm curious to see where it goes. A lot of it was kind of like just kind of setting up the world in that first issue kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's very much an issue to get in the casual Transformer fan to try to hook them. Yeah,
and definitely the fan from, I think from generally within our age range, especially that they grew up with the cartoon and the Marvel comics. Yeah, I would have, and like to be honest, I would have liked to have seen some more like some lady Transformers in there, or some non-male Transformers. There was a little surprised to not see some of that. I feel like that's one of those sort of changes that we've has been, I think, pretty positive, and I don't know. I feel you could retrofit that into even a retro story, but maybe they're going somewhere with it. So I don't know. Still excited. To see what it is.
Our C is on the cover with all the Autobots, so apparently she is in the at least the Autobot main cast.
She's been on some covers and stuff too. But we were talking about that, John and I were, and I'm like, she wasn't even on the cover. And then later I was like, oh, that's right, she is on the cover.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So I mean, like right now, you only have 2 Autobots that are functional.
I guess that's true. So, I guess you're right. Yeah.
And they just showed some preview pages. There's at least one more now. I don't know if you saw those preview pages, but
yeah.
But cool. Well, growing, I guess the cast is growing.
Yeah.
It always does. That is a thing that happens with Transformers, I have found.
Always more toys to sell.
Well, even if that's not the mandate, I don't know. You always just like, well, you got to bring in that other guy.
Yeah. I was talking to someone at New York Comic Con how like even us who worked in these books, we can't always keep track of like the whole cast. I'd have people come up to me at shows and say, "Hey, can you draw a commission of this character?" I'm like, "Who is that?" And they'd almost get like upset at me that I didn't know who that was. And then I'd go look up reference, and they're in like one background panel of one issue of More Than Meets the Eye. And I'm like, really? Like, forgive me that I might have forgotten that one character. There's one reference image available.
That's one of those Steel Wiki.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew Griffith, John Barber, thank you so much for coming on and letting us share this announcement with everyone. It's very cool. I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing more about Signa, and yeah, we'll check back with you in January when the Kickstarter goes live. And when are you envisioning the comic hitting stores after the Kickstarter's over?
That's a very good question that I don't know the answer to. I'm not sure. You'll definitely get it first if you're Kickstarter. It won't be like it won't be the following week or something. But it won't be too long after. I mean, we'll be far enough. We're plowing ahead on this right now. We're not waiting on anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on the subsequent issues and everything. So we're looking to get it out as soon as is reasonable.
All right.
So probably by the summer, but I'm just kind of making a guess at this point.
All right, cool. Okay, like I said, we'll have a link in the description here and in the show notes. So if you need to, get access to the mailing list, you can sign up at that link, and you'll be the first to know for any updates on Signa. And thanks again to Andrew and John for joining us. And thanks everyone for watching. If you're not familiar with us, we're the Transmissions Podcast. You can check out all our podcasts at transmissionspodcast.com. We do 2 shows every week, one focused on Transformers toys, one focused on Transformers comics and media, and in very special cases, other comics, sci-fi comics that we are interested in. So yeah, check us out on our website. We do all our podcasts, our YouTube video, as well as you can subscribe to them on your favorite podcast reader as well. So check them out wherever you can find awesome podcasts. And we will see you next time on the internets. So thanks again to Andrew Griffith, John Barber, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.
Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.